Captain Atom number 12, written by J.T. Kroll, art by Freddie Williams II, though they are both credited as storytellers. Last issue, we left off with Captain Atom had been making things happen, apparently subconsciously, if granting people's deepest desires. And apparently they all come with like a monkey's paw sort of twist, because the guy who got a childhood like toy chest or something caught on fire. So this issue picks up with Captain Atom being like, what is reality? Objective, subjective? I mean, in the end, I think it's subjective. And we see Nathaniel, aka the human half of Captain Atom, cuddling up with Renita on the couch and, playing a little footsie. And he's like, oh my God, I've been missing this for so long. This feels great. And her phone starts going off, and she's like, man, what? Just put it to vibrate. And she's like, oh, you just got to tune it out. I got to leave it on ring, though, in case something happens. And she looks at the phone, and there are 5 missed calls and 7 missed texts from Dr. Scott Alexander. And it's like, oh, uh-oh. So then we cut to inside the continuum where the scientist is still on fire, and they've got a fire extinguisher. They put him out, and it's like, it's okay, we've got you. And he seems fine. He's not burned or anything like that. But then he's like a trick candle in that he just reignites all over again. And he's like, oh, it's all my fault. This was me. I did this to me. So then we see a flashback of his father for punishing him for hitting his sister, taking away that toy chest of his. And so he goes downstairs into the basement to like blow off some steam. And he sees a lighter on the table. And he's like, I hate you so much. And he takes the lighter and he looks at the gas main for the house. And he's like, I hate you all. So dude blew up his family. You didn't quite get that. So then we cut over to Dr. Magala, who's still unconscious. He's still in a catatonic state and they literally can't wake him up. But Dr. Alexander, Scott, comes in, dragging along the woman who appears to be his mother. But he's like, no, that's not my mom. And he's just like, hey, my mom died 20 years ago. I don't know who this woman is. I want you to run some tests on her. So they run some tests, and the doctors are like, that she literally doesn't have like any bones or organs or anything. The most we can describe of what's inside of her is just like filler. And he's like, I knew it. Unbelievable. Captain Atom did this. And they're like, you sure? And he's just like, yeah, she made this fraud, this fake, this pale imitation of my mother. And the mom's sitting there like, oh my God, I'm not real, but I feel real. So of course we have that crisis as well. Meanwhile, inside Magala's mind, he's flying at past light speed throughout the universe with Captain Atom. And he's explaining to Magala, like, yeah, look, if we fly faster than the speed of light, we can actually reach the edge of the universe, like the edge of what the Big Bang has reached out to. And turns out there was a universe before us. And this Big Bang is just, the massive amount of energy is just wiping out all matter beyond it. And there's literally no way to ever know what it is. And Magala's like, I mean, we have to know something about it, right? And he's like, the Captain Atom's like, no, it's gone. There's literally no way you can ever know anything about the universe that existed beforehand. And Magala hates that, the fact that he's unable to know this, like actually unable to. So then we get to Nathaniel and Renita. They're driving in, and Renita's like, this seems a lot like a Captain Atom sort of thing. And he's like, well, that's not, there's been a lot of things that have seemed like Captain Atom things, and I'm not doing anything, so no, I don't think it's a Captain Atom thing. At least if it is, it's not a me thing. I'm not doing it. I'm not even linked to the guy anymore. But as they get up, they see this blue glow enveloping the entire facility, and it's just like, yeah, okay, this is a Captain Atom thing. Renita, stay outside. Nate's running in, and he's going to play hero, despite the fact he doesn't have any powers. But as he jumps and leaps his way across some fires that are breaking out throughout the facility, he finally gets in to where Captain Atom's being held, and he's like, hey, I was having a good life. You just couldn't resist messing that up, could you? Oh, well. And he puts his hand to the glass as Captain Atom wakes up and also puts his hand to the glass, and they reform again and become one whole Captain Atom. And he's like, all right. Wakes up Magala, puts the guy who's on fire out, and he leaves the mom alone for now. But he's like, yeah, what I was doing in my unconscious was I was just reaching out to people to grant their wishes, like the things they wanted the most. But their subconscious got in the way of that, and they weren't determined to get what they wanted. Their subconscious were determined to get what they felt like they deserved. So, yeah. So anyway, Renita comes in first, talks to Scott, and says, like, hey, Scott, what's going on? It's like, Captain Atom made this horrible monstrosity of a human being. And Captain Atom comes in being like, hey, I hope you know this wasn't intentional. He's like, it never is with you, is it? Look, just get rid of it. I don't even want to see it anymore. He doesn't even say any last words to her. But then Captain Adam goes in and talks to the mom, and she's like, I feel real, and I love him. I mean, how is that any different? Like, I don't understand. What's wrong with me? Why am I not allowed to live? As he's basically just slowly unmaking her, just takes her apart, atom by atom. And her last things are like, shouldn't that count for something? And he's like, yeah, you would think it would. So at that point, Renita, she's upset. She's heartbroken because Nathaniel's gone again, becoming Captain Adam. Captain Adam sees her crying, and so he's like, I needed this human compassion. I needed to be with somebody, but now, like, I realize that I've been ignoring who I have to be with these powers. And he just gets up and straight off flies to the moon. And he's like, I'm no longer a man. I don't belong with man anymore. I have to stay alone. So, yeah. As far as I know, that's the end. We have a Zero issue still coming up. I don't know if that's going to be technically his origin or if that's going to be like a capper on the whole story. But Captain Adam's no longer with humanity, and we'll see how that turns out. So again, this whole series I have been enjoying. The art style is so out there and so wild. Sometimes it does take some time to get used to, but the story itself has always had a philosophical thing to say. It's getting into this thing of like man versus God and where Captain Adam falls in that boundary. And it's genuinely just a good story. I've liked it from the beginning. So this particular issue, it doesn't do a whole lot, but as like this big decision that Captain Adam has to make of rejoining himself together. I did enjoy that, of him really breaking down like, why should I? Why don't I deserve that? Don't I deserve some happiness after everything? So overall, I'm going to go ahead and give it I'm going to have to say like an 8. I really do enjoy it. And I would give it higher if a little bit more like happened. If like, because yeah, he left humanity, but honestly, that was a literal one panel last page thing. So didn't really feel like that monumentous of a decision that he made. It kind of felt almost on like, oh, okay, I'm just going to leave now, bye. So 8, still very good. And we will see how the true finale comes next month.